Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today I wanted to dive into part 2 of our series on food labels. If you didn't check out part 1, you can go ahead and do that. I'll link it down below. Part 1 was mostly related to discussing that a food label is actually a legal document, and so there are certain things that need to be on the bag, and those things are very important for us to try to determine whether or not a food's going to be right for our pet. And so those things are, including things like the guaranteed analysis. It includes your ingredient list, it's going to include the manufacturer, it's going to include some key descriptive terms, but today we're mostly going to focus on the guaranteed analysis. And so the guaranteed analysis is going to list a series of things in percentages, and there are 4 things that absolutely must be listed. And so it must list the minimum for fat and protein and the maximum for fiber and moisture. And so the important thing to remember is that when we're listing minimum and maximum, it's not a specific number. And so if it's a minimum, it means that that particular quantity is the least amount that it can be. So it can be more than that, it can just not be less than that. So if it lists a maximum, that's the number max that it can be. It can be less than that, it just can't be more than that. And so that at face value might seem helpful, but there are also a couple more things, a couple more nutrients that aren't listed in the guaranteed analysis that we really want to pay specific attention to. And so those are things like phosphorus, sodium, vitamin E. That's going to be things like your calcium. And so those are some additional key nutrient ingredients that I want to discuss with you today and things to be looking out for. So the really important thing with looking at the guaranteed analysis is going to be focusing on which particular life stage we're feeding. And so we talked a little bit about how we want to avoid things that say all life stages, and so that's going to become really evident in this little part of our video because we're going to be looking at each specific nutrient profile for each life stage. And so if you have a product that's listed as all life stages, it's just going to lump all those together. What we want to do is know the specific life stage of our pet and then feed to that specifically. So if you have an adult dog, you want to be looking for parameters like this. If you have a senior pet that's a dog, you want to be looking for parameters that look like this. If you have a puppy, we're going to break that down into 2 specific groups. So we have large breed puppy and regular puppy. A large breed puppy is a puppy that is going to be greater than 50 pounds when it reaches its maximum weight. And so for a large breed puppy, you want to look for a nutrient profile that looks something like this. For a regular puppy, you want to look for a nutrient profile that looks something like this. So why are these specific ingredients different based on the life stage? So protein is one of those things that's going to be listed as a minimum on the bag. And protein, we obviously know, is needed for growth and development. The problem is too much of a good thing isn't a good thing necessarily. If you have a puppy, you need the extra protein for growth. But if you're a senior dog, all that extra protein is going to put extra strain on the kidneys. And so too much protein in a senior diet or even an adult diet is going to cause some issues later down the road with the kidneys. So it's best to avoid things that are too high in protein. The kidneys process the body's extra protein, and so when you overload a senior pet or an adult pet or a pet that already has underlying kidney disease with too much protein, we're asking the kidneys to process way more than what they have to, and that actually makes the kidneys more tired and show more issues with renal disease. This same concept applies to calcium and phosphorus. And so calcium is obviously, again, needed for bone growth. We want to have calcium in acceptable levels if you have a pet that's lactating, that way they can produce the milk they need. But a puppy that's not growing or a mom that's not lactating doesn't need excessive amounts of calcium. Extra calcium, again, is going to put more strain on the kidneys than what is necessary and may be detrimental to pets that already have some underlying kidney disease. Phosphorus is similar to calcium. It's another mineral. It's another one of those minerals that is particularly of concern when you have a puppy. Puppies, you will notice the difference between the phosphorus and the calcium in the large breed and the small breed puppy, and that's because it has to do with the ratio that is needed for the accelerated growth of a large breed puppy. You don't want to actually overload a large breed puppy with calcium or phosphorus, or their bones may grow too quickly, and too quickly of bone growth might result in weaker bones, or it might also result in growing pains. And so that ratio is really important, specifically when you're looking at a puppy food for a large breed puppy versus a regular small breed puppy. A couple other nutrients that I will recommend you pay attention to is going to be sodium and chloride. And so sodium chloride, of course, is salt. And so normal animals can tolerate a large variation in the sodium chloride or the salt concentration of a diet. Where you're going to run into problems again is pets that have underlying medical conditions. So a pet that may have a heart condition, or a pet that may have some renal disease, kidney disease, a pet that might have an endocrine disorder such as Cushing's disease. Then it becomes really important to make sure that we're feeding a diet that falls in the appropriate range for sodium and chloride. Fiber content. Fiber is really important, specifically in our older patients. Fiber helps with things such as constipation, issue with anal glands, and so we want to make sure fiber falls in the acceptable levels for each life stage. Fat and fatty acids. Obviously, puppies, lactating moms, pregnant moms need a little bit of extra fat. The other thing that fat does is it helps transmit certain fat-soluble vitamins. So vitamin A, vitamin D, E, and K. Those need fat in order to be utilized by the body. But on the other side, excess amounts of fat are going to lead your pet to be obese, have problems with weight management, weight gain. And so we want fat to fall in a specific level for each life stage as well. Nutrient profiles for cats also have similar important things that we need to be looking for. However, in the cat, we also have an added nutrient that we need to pay attention to, and that's taurine. Taurine helps facilitate various aspects of the feline. It's known to deal with their sight. It can cause issues with their retina if there's not appropriate amounts of taurine in the diet. And this is very unique and specific to cats. So we want to make sure the taurine levels also fall in the appropriate range for each life stage in the cat. For cats, if you have an adult cat, you want to make sure that it's within these parameters. If it's a kitten, you want to make sure that it's within these parameters. And if it's a senior cat, it's very important that we maintain these parameters. Especially with the senior cat, because we know senior cats have a very high risk of developing kidney disease, and so that phosphorus and the protein level in our senior cats is really important. So hopefully now you have a handle on what you need to specifically be looking for in the dog. And the next portion, or the next part of this series, I want to actually go to the store and pull some bags and see what the labels look like and go through the key nutrient ingredients so that we can see kind of what it looks like. So if you have a specific food that you feed your pet and you want me to look at that bag, go ahead and comment down below, and maybe also list which store you purchase it at, because I don't know all the stores that sell all the bags of food. So I want to do that next, so go ahead and leave a comment down below and I will try to find your food and we can go over that. I hope you guys all enjoyed, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.